Hi, welcome back, and I'm glad that you're here. This poem doesn't have a title. I wrote it on March 22nd of this year. Crying without a reason, sobbing with no explanation. Have you ever let grief roll through you, unsure of the start? Have you ever leaned into the great ache without a destination, without a solution? How can we bear the cold nakedness of breaking out of our shell? How can we embrace the breeze blowing through our open arms? As I said, I wrote this in March earlier this year, and it feels like this year in general there's just been so much grief. And according to numerology, we're in a 9-year globally because the year 2025 adds up to the number 9 when you get it down to one number. So it's a year of endings. And it feels like there's been this heavy cloak of our last selves looming. Yeah, the old world, it feels like, is breaking down. I've been listening to Bob Dylan's The Times Are Changing song a lot the past few days. It just, change is hard. We're in the middle of it, or we're at the beginning of it. And at the beginning, it looks like destruction. And even in your personal life, this episode is me focusing on something that's changing in my personal life and trying to understand it. Obviously, it doesn't come to a clear conclusion because it is life, not a story. But there's so much change right now, and there's so much changing in our lives, and so then we have to change who we are to each other. How much time that takes, how much energy can be given. But we still need the grief. You have to listen to the grief. But it's just that something in your life is changing. Something in your life is dying. Don't let grief swallow you so whole that you think you have to die. Because you are so many forms. You can be so many different versions of you. Me saying this to me. Well, me saying that to past me. Me sharing the lessons that I have learned. Okay. I feel like I keep waiting for this kind of uneasiness to pass because, I feel like it's just the nice moments where I don't have long, or I haven't had for a while, a long period of time where I felt good and comfortable in my skin. And I'm when is this gonna happen? But I was just thinking maybe this might just be a whole year thing. And part of how that has shown up in my life is I've been feeling insecure about my relationship with my best friend of almost 20 years and just feeling uncomfortable, confused, and nervous. And there have been a lot of changes in our lives. She has this boyfriend that is the one. And so I don't know if this naturally happened or what, if it's the honeymoon phase or something, but I've just been feeling like I am being broken up with. And I'm this is crazy. I'm not in love with my best friend. I know that she's not my type. I love her and she and everything like that, but it's not sexually romantic. I was talking about this with one of my other best friends. She was telling me about one of her friends who has found the one, and now my friend is not feeling like she has as much space in her friend's life either, or like same feeling as me. And it was really nice to talk about, to make myself not feel, or to allow myself to not feel crazy. Because I was like, why do I feel like I'm being broken up with? But I know I'm not, like, it's not like that. Like, and I know it's not, and I don't want it to be. But then why do I have these hurt feelings? Why do I feel like just so not important anymore? But I think that, I don't know, it seems like most people seem to find a partner, whether or not it be their life partner, because, people get divorced. But whether or not be a life partner by the time they're my age. People seem to have found a partner by the time they're my age. I'm 28. And so it's weird to just be kind of like, okay, like, I'm still having a good time with me. Mostly with me. Like, just, yeah. And so, I don't know, I guess I just wanted to talk about that. Like, it's like, I don't know, I listened to this podcast during COVID about relationships, and they had on a woman that was single. And, no, they had like a 3-part series, actually, about being single. And the different ways that, like, they had a segment on these women in Canada who ended up doing like a Golden Girls type beat because all of their husbands died, because, women live longer. My brain just said, so that's why I'm going to marry a woman. If I get married. Anyways, so the woman that was talking about being single on the podcast, being single in your like midlife, and how frustrating that can be just with logistics. That one was obvious. How she said sometimes she would go on trips with her friends that are couples, and say they're renting an Airbnb and they get a 2-bedroom, and because obviously the couple is going to probably share a bed, but then they want to split it like 50-50 with the single guest that was on the show. And she's like, what are you talking about? I can't afford this. Like, you like, it's not fair to only split it 50-50 when there are 3 people occupying this house, even if they're sleeping in the same bed. Because, like, if there are 3 incomes paying for this vacation, there should be 3 incomes paying for the Airbnb. Or they can, like, divide it 3 separate ways, and then, like, for the 2/3 of the couple, like, they can prorate it for whatever. But, like, just because you're single, or, like, just because your relationship doesn't look like a traditional relationship, doesn't mean you should have to sleep on the couch, like, when you're on a vacation with your friends. That doesn't make sense. But she didn't talk about this emotional, or I don't remember her talking about this emotional aspect of just kind of being like, damn, okay, like, I guess friendship isn't as important, or that's how it feels, but I don't believe that. But it feels like that's kind of the path, the schedule, the plan laid out by society. Once you have your partner, then you just don't make your friends as much of a priority. And granted, like, I guess it sort of makes sense. There's only so much time in a day. And if you're in a heterosexual relationship, more than likely you will also be starting a family together. And so then that becomes your main social life, in the same way that when you were a kid, that was some of the people you saw the most because you lived with them. Maybe that's what it is. Like, between family and having your own household, your friends really do become your family and become your first partners, and like show you how to love and show you how to be yourself and give you the space to be yourself. I don't want to believe that that just stops once then you start creating your own family. But it does feel like a stage of life that I hadn't heard anyone talk about. I guess most adults I know aren't single or weren't single at this age. It seems like it's a natural phase of life, but my best friend did also, because we've already talked about part of this, we've already talked about this partially, but I understand my feelings a lot more now talking with my other friend, that she and all of her friends that are in long-term serious partnerships don't want to lose the community of friendship now that they are in these serious relationships, and they were talking about how they want to make sure that doesn't happen. But it makes me feel really sad and really lonely that seems to be a part of life, a stage of life. Like, also, all of this feels related to how all of my friends and I's lives are changing right now. Like, so many of the people that are my age were going through our Saturn return, and so that's a big focus on the self and what we want, and it's like, get your shit together. Or like, what do you want your shit to be? Like, seriously. And so, yeah, things are changing. Because I am, according to numerology, in a 1 year, which means that this is the beginning of a new cycle for me. And beginnings are always hard for anyone and everyone. I'm no exception. And so it feels like, that is like, okay, girl, like, this is just gonna be a hard time. This is just gonna be a hard year. So a big amount of change. And one of my friends that was in her 1 year last year, we met when she was in her 9 year. And then, like, at the beginning of her 1 year, like, all this crazy shit happened. Just, like, destruction, death, just, like, back to the drawing board, so much change. It's just like, okay, I don't think this is supposed to be an easy year. A beginning is never easy. But it's funny because last year also felt like a beginning as much as it was an ending. And also, obviously, we get to create our own narratives. All of this stuff, like the numerology or astrology, everything like that. Like, take everything what you want. Like, I've already said this. Build your beliefs for what makes this life the most pleasant for you. Endings are also wrapped up in beginnings. But I do feel like the beginning of the beginning feels a lot more like a liminal space. Don't exactly know what I'm doing. Don't exactly know why I'm here. Don't know how this makes sense at all. But it's all accompanied by a new look. With this new lip ring. I feel myself wanting to talk less, though, because, well, I guess more so with, like, the stud. Now I have a hoop in, which is so much more comfortable. But my other one, I have apparently a weird in-between size lip, of course. Nothing about me is normal. I just learned that only like 10% of people can wiggle their ears. That's crazy to me, because I can. And I'm like, how does everybody not know how to do this? I don't understand how that can't be true, because I have operated under the belief that I am a completely normal person for my whole life as like a safety mechanism almost. Like when I'm like in hostels, traveling alone, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope no one like fucks with me in any kind of way that you can be worried about traveling alone as a single woman in a co-ed dorm. And I'm just like, everyone here is doing the same thing I'm doing. Like, they're just on vacation. Like, we're all the same. I'm a normal person. I wonder what percentage of people can actually frown. That was a study that I was doing for a while. A lot of my friends couldn't like do the proper like turn your mouth down at the corners frown. Their mouth just kind of gets wider. And that was always really entertaining. I think also I'm realizing more and more, like I've already said this, but I keep trying to avoid it. Like if I can't express myself, it makes, like if I'm having a thought and I can't say it out loud, it really affects every part of my being. I don't feel like I can be as present because then I'm trying to avoid it. Like if I can't say it out loud, I'm trying to avoid it. Because it's like, don't think about this, like when you're with the person that you're thinking, when the thoughts associated with, you know, like don't think about this, you can't bring this up, like da 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 da. But then it's like, you're thinking about you're avoiding it. That's what you're thinking about. You're still thinking about it. But if you can just say it, then it's just out of your head. Also in Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, when Lena and Costas broke up, one of the times she kept trying to forget him. Like she would tell herself at the end of the day, like, remember to forget him. And in that trying, she kept thinking about him. And so then she was failing in forgetting him because she was trying to forget him. And then it was crazy, like, showed up right when she, like, met this new guy. Of course, that's how it always happens. And he was, like, in Greece, and she was in Rhode Island. Those books were so good. I'm wondering if I was talking yesterday about how my best friend of almost 20 years, I realized that she was kind of fulfilling the girlfriend role for me. Like, once when my best friend was with her last boyfriend, we all were hanging out and went to one of her like work parties, and then I think got dinner afterwards. And when we got into the work party, I'd gone to the bathroom right before going in, and so she goes in with boyfriend, and she's like, hey, this is my boyfriend, like my girlfriend is in the bathroom. And we just spent the rest of the night cracking up because it was like, hey, this is my boyfriend and this is my girlfriend. But I didn't realize like how that ended up kind of being true. Because like she's my best friend, like she's the person that I have spoken to the most out of the past 5 years. But I didn't realize that, like, when, say you want to get into a serious relationship, but you've been having issues, or like your pattern has been dating like fuck boys or just like finding people that only want to hook up. And so you keep finding these people that only want to hook up, and you're horny, obviously, because you have a body. Or I guess some bodies don't feel that, and everybody has their own experience, but my body feels that. And anyways, you keep hooking up with them, but then it's like when you're in all of these situationships, you're not making space, like you're not leaving the space for the serious relationship to come in. And so I kind of wonder if that's sort of what ended happening with my best friend. Like she's been fulfilling the girlfriend role for me for so long, and so then I haven't needed to look somewhere else. Also, obviously, I have very dear, intimate friendships that, like we get really deep together and talk about our lives and meaning make together, and that fulfills my emotional needs. And I've had more casual sex than I now wish I had. But none of it was, like, I wanted all of it at the time. I just realized later it wasn't actually worth it. I wanted to focus on other things, but it did also fulfill my sexual needs for a few years. And so that worked out that way. And so now that she has like her life partner, it feels like harder to find my place, which also definitely is probably part of the uncomfortableness and restlessness that I'm feeling in my life right now. And so I was thinking about, I was like, okay, how can I fill this time? Like, because she was really more the person I would most often be like, I just need to get this off my chest. And so I would talk to her. But now that's just not as available anymore. Like, she's obviously still around, like, we're still really close, but it's just like she just doesn't have the same amount of time, which granted also this is a busy period in her life, as she also pointed out. But it's like, okay, where can I express myself then? And so I've been saying on here, online. And I noticed in thinking through that or in testing this out, this new way of expressing myself, I am kind of seeing like influencers or just like people with presences online very differently, because it's like I keep my circle pretty small. Well, no, I have a lot of friends, but we don't talk very often, most of them. And so I spend a lot of time alone. And like now I'm like, oh, okay, but I still want to like be talking to someone and like have interaction. And so now I guess that interaction, that talking to someone is happening online. And I'm like, okay, so like these influencers or like the people that are just like documenting their normal everyday life, it's like, okay, you just want someone to hang out with, but not actually someone to hang out with. Like, you need to express yourself, but maybe you don't have someone who's there all the time. Like, I met this guy when I was walking the trail in Corfu, that he had a YouTube channel that he would just like document his travels on. And he was really cool, like in his early 50s, retired in his mid 30s or late 30s after saving all of his money and working in insurance. So making a lot of money, medical insurance, insuring hospitals. He always wanted to travel, and he just got into documenting his travels as like an activity, as like a project to have, as a creative project to have while traveling. And when he was making his videos, I saw him shoot some clips, and it just felt like it was like having a little buddy there with you. And now my hope with this podcast is that it just feels like a voice memo from me. Although I don't think I've ever sent a 30-minute voice memo. That would be very impressive. Also, like, as I said earlier, if I can't express myself, it starts to affect me negatively. Like, I just feel like every other part of me shuts down. And so now I just thought of it this way for the first time, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, I'm realizing it's kind of worth a shot to see if expressing myself more will affect me positively. Like, I remember Glennon talked about how she started her blog, which later got her, like, she continued it for a long time. I can't remember how long, but then that was like how she came around to her book. And like now getting to have this podcast where she talks to amazing people about really important stuff, and it's my favorite podcast. But that started with her, like, she was sending her sister all of these emails every day about all of her thoughts about just everything that was happening in the world, and her sister was like, I cannot read this. Her sister's like a fucking badass lawyer, crazy boss ass bitch. And she was just like, I don't have time to read all this, like, you have to put this somewhere else. And so then she made her blog. Yeah, so maybe I feel like and also as humans, like, I have seen the cave drawings that people left behind. Like, we have always wanted to share our story. Like, I really feel like that is part of the lifeblood of all of us. Like, part of me feels nervous about talking about this so plainly, like, because it's happening right now, and so it feels vulnerable. It's not usually something I don't share typically what's happening in my life right now. But I feel like it's important, like talking about it with my other friend, how our relationships were changing with our other friends. Like, talking about it with her made me feel so, like, seen and not alone in it. And yeah, like someone understood. And so, yeah, maybe this can do that. 11:11. Okay, that's all for this episode. I feel like I'm finally coming out of a really dark period, which is nice to feel like it's finally passing. Also, with that, more activity is coming. I am going to Panama to join a sailboat, and I'm unsure of if we will have Wi-Fi, and so I will see what I can do about setting up some episodes to be published while I'm away. In these next few days, I'll have an overnight in an airport, and I usually don't sleep when I do that, so hopefully maybe something can happen there. But yeah, big things are starting to happen. I'm really excited for it. Finally feel like speaking again. It just feels like so much grief has been happening lately. And a lot of heaviness in the air, and it doesn't always have a source. So something just must be moving subconsciously. That's kind of what I take, how I interpret my tides, my emotional tides. Yeah, so that's that about the scheduling of this. I'll be more open to readings and stuff once I get to Australia in December. Seasons of change, a lot of change. Everything's changing. The times, they are changing. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of our lives as we knew them. Always, every day. But this right now feels bigger. And it's important because it's your life. Trust in your ability to make a life that fulfills you. To create a life. To find a life. To create a life that fulfills you. And enjoy it. That's the hard part. Sometimes. Okay, much love to you guys, as always.